A lot of my friends are lactose intolerant or are just trying to consume less dairy in general. So I've devised a really delicious dairy-free dessert with pecan milk. So it's really decadent, super simple, but so delicious. So the base of my panna cotta is a really rich pecan milk. And the fun thing here is if you just take away some of the sweetener and add a little more water, you have a great pecan milk that you can eat with cereal or add to your coffee in the morning. But for me, this is a dessert, so it's gonna be pumped up just a little bit. So I start with my pecans, and I just toss them straight into the blender. So the pecans are gonna be making the milk of this dish. And then my sugar. A little bit of cinnamon for flavor, and just a hit of nutmeg, a little bit of vanilla extract, and now for a creamy factor, a little bit of coconut oil. This really kind of adds a nice sort of emulsified texture to it. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of water just to get it going. And now just a little bit of agave nectar. And agave is just a natural sweetener. It has a flavor almost like liquid brown sugar and maple syrup. It's quite sweet and has a really lovely round flavor to it. So that goes right in. And I like to mix in batches because it makes for a much smoother pecan milk. Great, so I'm just gonna let this blend and I'll pour my water. Looks beautiful, it's so frothy. I'm gonna have a taste just to see if I need to make any adjustments. That's really good. It's a little on the sweet side, but it's making up the core of my dessert, so I need it to be. Now I'm gonna strain my pecan milk just to get all of those pecan skins and other particles out of the way. I want it really smooth for my panna cotta. Well, I think I've strained it as much as I can, so I'm gonna take this to the back, simmer it for a little bit, and add a tiny bit of gelatin just to set it up. So to turn my pecan milk into a panna cotta, I need to add gelatin. It gives it a really luxurious texture, really thick and kind of silky. So I'm just gonna whisk this in just to make sure that it's perfectly smooth. You don't want any gelatin clumps. Great, I think this is ready to put in some ramekins. My pecan milk has simmered. I'm now going to pour it into my little greased ramekins. Well, these look great. I'm gonna take them into my fridge and I'm gonna check on them in a couple of hours. So while my panna cotta is setting, I'm gonna get started on my caramelized pears and caramel pear sauce. The great thing about the caramelized pears is you can add them to any dessert and all of a sudden you have a really impressive dessert. And it's so simple to do as well. I'm gonna start by peeling, coring, and slicing up my pears. I'm now gonna transfer them to an oven-safe baking dish. And pears give a lot of juice when you roast them, so that's gonna work really well to help caramelize them. And now I'm gonna sprinkle it with a little bit of sugar that I've put some vanilla bean into. So it's gonna give it a really beautiful vanilla flavor. As the pears roast, the sugar is gonna melt and caramelize down. That'll go so well with my panna cotta. And I mean, how easy is that? It's just sugar and pears. It's so simple and so delicious. I'll stick these in the oven for about an hour, and in the meantime, get started on my last ingredient. So to make my dairy-free caramel sauce, I'm doing a dry caramel, which all that means is I'm putting sugar straight into the pot, heating it, and waiting until it starts to melt and caramelize all on its own. I'm gonna swirl it around just to make sure nothing gets burnt, and then I'm gonna add pear juice that has a lot of sugar in it already, so it's gonna create a really beautiful sauce. You can see it's starting to get a little bit wet. Nothing coloring is happening, but you can see it's starting to moisten and stick to the bottom of the pan. It's been 3 minutes and I think we're just about there. It's turning a really beautiful sort of deep caramel color. So now that it's fully liquefied, I'm going to add my pear juice, and it's gonna splatter just a little bit, so be warned. I'm just gonna stir it, and right now you'll see that the sugar has kind of hardened because the pear juice is not as hot as it is, but it'll basically go back into itself. You just have to stir it for a couple of minutes. So the caramel has dissolved back into the juice, and I'm gonna let it reduce just a little bit. All reduction means is that some of the water is evaporating out of whatever I'm trying to reduce. So I'm trying to just thicken it a little bit. And it looks just about there. So I'm gonna turn off the heat, and I'm gonna add my vanilla. I'd say about a teaspoon's fine. Well, this looks great. I'm gonna take it off and let it cool. So my pears are out of the oven and my panna cottas are set, so I'm gonna start putting this whole dish together. So first I'm gonna unmold my panna cotta. And all I'm gonna do, since these are already greased, is just run a butter knife right around the edge, really clean. Flip a plate upside down, flip this, and cross my fingers. There we go. Perfectly set. Now all I have to do is put my other ingredients on it and it's ready to go. So I'm going to start with my pears. Perfect. And so now I'm gonna add a little bit of the caramel sauce just around the whole thing. So I'm gonna give it a try. That is so delicious. Super rich, really creamy, very luxurious, and total proof that you can be dairy-free and still enjoy beautiful desserts.